What is up, everybody? Ryan from Sports Card Radio. That's right, we're back for another episode of the R-Rated podcast, hosted and found exclusively on sportscardradio.com. Out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Probably could do a much better podcast talking about the experiences of living in Las Vegas for the last month. And certainly have had some very interesting times out here, as you can imagine. But this is a sports card podcast, and we have a couple topics to discuss. Bear in mind, I haven't been too plugged into the sports card world, but hopefully I can shed some insight and some wisdom into what we'll discuss today. 4 quick little things before we dive into those. Any 1990s rock and roll fans, Pearl Jam looks like they are in the recording studio putting together a new album that comes courtesy of a podcast. Can't remember the name, but the guy does. He interviews, quit his job to start in a podcast where he goes around and interviews action sports like skaters and snowboarders and those type of people about kind of the business of, action sports and that kind of thing. So pretty interesting. He was able to land an interview with one of the members of Pearl Jam because the bassist, Jeff Ament, builds skate parks. So he probably had some connections there, knew some skaters, and got connected in that way. And it was a very interesting hour-long interview. And one of the first kind of nuggets that came out of it was that Pearl Jam is in the studio recording a new album. Obviously very exciting for me. Another thing very exciting, besides living in Las Vegas, is all these conferences and things that come through. And I went to Affiliate Summit West last week. CES was this past week. Another one coming through, the Sports Licensing and Tailgate Show, January 23rd through the 25th at the Convention Center in Vegas. Panini and Upper Deck will be there. Something I've always wanted to go to. Something that you have to be kind of affiliated with the industry to get in, or be a buyer or have an e-commerce site. None of which I really have. But there was an option to sign up through the media. And thanks to your likes and clicks, all that was required was 1,000 unique visitors per month. And a copy of something that I had written. So I sent that over, and sure enough, a couple days later, got a free pass into the Sports Licensing and Tailgate Show, which, if I didn't get a free pass and somehow I was able to finagle my way in through another way, it would have cost me about like $300 to $600. So, the website sometimes pays for itself in one fell swoop there. So excited about that. Again, a couple of the card companies are there and a bunch of like sports, it's a sports licensing and tailgate show. So a whole bunch of like cool stuff there and a bunch of exhibitors and new products and stuff. So it'll be really cool to kind of hang out there for a few days and check that out. So look for that. Update on a couple guys we've discussed many times on this show. Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, both playing very well in case you don't stay up late enough to watch Laker games. Ingram tweaked an ankle yesterday, so we hope that he's okay. But Ball's been playing much better since he came back from the shoulder injury. Lakers have won 4 in a row. Look pretty good. I think they have a tough game on the road against Oklahoma City coming up. So that one could be tricky. But that's it. Those were the 4 quick little topics that I had. Before we talk about 2 main things on the show, brand new PSA card price guide. Actually, we have 3 things. A check out my cards question that I got through Twitter. And lastly, last but certainly not least, the Topps party that is coming up on Tuesday, January 16th, that I will be attending. And we'll give you the meal options, the rules to the party, some new rules this year, and some of my expectations and thoughts and plans for that. But I could almost do an entire show on this PSA card price guide that comes out. And, either while you're listening to me or certainly sometime today, you need to stop what you're doing and go to psacard.com/auction prices and check this thing out. This is, again, I'm not getting paid to say this. I think PSA even has blocked me on Twitter. So this is absolutely sponsorship free here. This PSA card price guide is the coolest thing I think I've seen since Upper Deck E-Pack. It is absolutely amazing. I'm looking at like an Aaron Judge, say for instance, I just typed in Aaron Judge blue refractor, his blue refractor from Bowman. That's worth a whole bunch of money. It literally gives me the date of everything that's sold on eBay, a PSA card. It gives me the grade. If I click on the particular card, it shows me a picture of it. It shows me the certification number. It shows me the seller. It shows me what it sold for. It shows me what auction house. I guess eBay, and they've probably maybe integrated some of the other auction houses into it. It also will show me a history of. It shows me an entire history of that particular card that is sold. And this is useful in two ways. One, for research purposes. Oh my goodness, somebody sold one of these Aaron Judge blue refractors for $28 on actually exactly a year ago today, January 14, 2017. Well, one sold on October 8, 2017 for $1,000. So the card went from $28 to $1,000. So that's absolutely incredible. So one, this is extremely useful as a research tool. Another thing that it's very useful for is counterfeit protection, because what's happening on some of these older cards and Jordan rookies and anything that's very easy to counterfeit is guys are just taking, legitimate certification numbers and copying the PSA label and slapping it on a bogus card and putting it in a fake holder. And this is happening, it happened to Vegas Dave. We talked about that on this show, and it's happening quite a bit in this hobby, not only with Jordan rookies, but other cards I'm sure as well. And it's something that could continue to happen as printing gets better and counterfeiting becomes easier, or it's something that I'm sure this is one of the main reasons, not only from kind of a knowledge perspective, but also from kind of a counterfeit protection reason why PSA utilized this. And this is extremely, extremely cool, extremely useful. Like I said, I've only played around with it for a little bit, but it's extremely straightforward, easy to use, quick results. Wow, this is really, really cool. And, if you've listened, you probably haven't, but if you've ever listened to the PSA quarterly conference calls, they're a public company that publicly traded. I think the stock's at about $30 right now. The old CEO, they just hired a new CEO, Joe Orlando, and I think he's only done one call. But the older guy would always talk about, hey, information drives collecting, not only in cards, but in coins and autographs and all this kind of stuff. Information drives collecting. When people know what's in the set, when people, share this information, and when this information is readily available, and that includes pricing, it helps drive collecting. So when people know that in that last year, the year ago today, an Aaron Judge card sold for $28, and sure enough, in October, the same exact card sold for $1,000. That doesn't take a whole, that's very powerful knowledge there. That's something that a lot of people can understand, that, oh my God, this baseball card went from $28 to $1,000. It's unbelievable. Maybe I want to go buy a pack, or maybe I want to go buy some cards of my favorite player, or maybe I want to go buy some Aaron Judge cards. So this is just a really, really cool thing that PSA card has done. Again, this is the coolest thing I've seen in a while. Again, this is very simple. It's it's not an app. It's not something that has a lot of bells and whistles. It's very something simple and easy that they set up, and it looks like they've been able to kind of integrate it with eBay and the other auction houses. But guys, stop what you're doing. PSAcard.com/auction prices. Again, this sounds like an advertisement. This is not a fucking advertisement. I didn't get paid a dime to say this or any of this. This is just one of the coolest thing I've seen. So PSA card. I don't know why I can't get that website out. PSAcard.com/auction prices. There we go. We'll learn to speak at some point. Next topic. This question comes courtesy of Michael. He says, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on uncirculated stock images on Check Out My Cards. And this is something they really very recently started to do. Looks like on the a lot of the Upper Deck E-Pack cards that they kind of have to get and scan a lot of. Normally what you would do is, you send in some cards to check out my cards, and they would scan a front and back image of both. And so maybe, hey, 20 cards are listed for sale, but you can get a front and back scan of each one. And maybe there's one that's maybe a little higher price, but it's in a really nice condition. You buy that one instead of some of the lower price ones. Kind of one of the main advantages of Check Out My Cards is that all the listings are in one kind of thing. You can check out all the cards at once. If you had to do that on eBay, you'd have to click through, 20 different listings. But it looks like what they're doing, Check Out My Cards is doing, is on some of these Upper Deck E-Pack cards, they're doing uncirculated stock images. And initially I thought they were doing that to really just kind of speed up the process. Instead of having to scan all these cards, maybe Upper Deck is trying to get some cards through to E-Pack faster. So they need Check Out My Cards to kind of process these cards faster. So, hey, let's use these stock images. Hey, for some of these cards that are really cheap, nobody really care. And I thought that was the route they were going to go, but I quickly typed in, well, what about an expensive card like the Connor McDavid Young Gun, which the lowest one on Check Out My Cards right now is $375. Well, no, they're using uncirculated stock images for those. And that's... I don't know why they're doing that. That's not something that I would do. Would I use stock images on cards priced under $1? Certainly. For all these inserts and all this stuff coming from E-Pack that, come on. You're paying 25 cents for these cards. Who really... I know some people care, but and most of these cards are in good condition. But something like a McDavid Young Gun, which already is worth $375, $400. A nicked corner or one in perfect condition could be worth a lot more than that, or considerably less maybe. So I don't like the fact that you're buying a stock image of a card worth $375. I don't mind buying a stock image of a card priced under, say, $1 probably. So that is something, they haven't made an announcement about this, and certainly I haven't talk to them about this. So something to kind of keep an eye on. I would advise them that to look into this a little bit more. Again, I'm looking at the Connor McDavid page, and it's uncirculated stock images of a $375 card that has foil borders and black edges at the top. So not something I would want to be doing. For all that kind of lower end stuff, I think you're safe to buy it and certainly flip that stuff, or buy it if you're looking to keep it for yourself. Again, those cards come directly from Upper Deck. Chances are they're going to be in pretty good shape. But yeah, would I buy a Connor McDavid Young Gun on Check Out My Cards right now? That would be a hard negative. Last topic, but certainly not least, the Topps Transcendent party that is coming up on Tuesday. Was able to secure a pass to that. My brother Colin and I went halves. We were even toward the end trying to get a second pass, but boy, these things were a little harder to get this year. And boy, if you blow money on cards, if you do group breaks or whatever, and you didn't buy a pass to this, or team up with somebody else and send somebody down there to get the stuff, you realize that you're getting 87 Aaron Judge rookie cards numbered to 87. And I'm not that plugged in to the sports card world as I used to. But the dick sucking that Aaron Judge was getting the entire year ranks right up there with any of the baseball stars and athletes we've seen in the last few years. So shout out to Aaron Judge, again from Linden, California, which is about 15 minutes from where I grew up. So shame on you if you're not going to this, or you didn't plan ahead. I mean, did you listen to the fucking podcast last year? Did you see what happened? I had an $800 dust off to the strip club last year when it was in Vegas, and I still came up at that party. So even though I had to pay a little bit more this year, actually my brother and I both, again, this is a 50-50 proposition. I only have half a bullet going into this thing. We were trying to get another bullet so that we essentially each had a spot. But I'm really looking forward to it. It certainly, aside from the National, this is the only thing that probably I really look forward to. Aside from these fucking card companies screwing up like a Dak Prescott situation. I mean, those are the things you dream about. But in terms of events, you know, I think we just had the Upper Deck Conference or something, or there's an industry summit, or the Topps thing is coming up. Who really gives a fuck anymore about any of those? What really fucking happens there? Well, at the Topps party, you get 87 fucking Aaron Judge rookie cards. I think they give you another like one-on-one jersey piece. Let alone what else you're going to get. Hank Aaron's going to be there. Number 2 all-time in home runs behind the greatest baseball player of all time, Barry Lamar Bonds. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to meet the second greatest home run hitter of all time. Let me give you the dinner selection options. So imagine yourself sitting here, and you can decide what you would have off this Topps Transcendent Party Dinner Menu. Your dinner selection: A, Southern fried chicken with white cheddar mac and cheese, green beans, bread, and butter pickle with chili honey. That sounds both delicious and certainly might need a trip to the doctor or the gym after that. Option B, pecan stuffed pork loin, nestled on sweet potato mashed, seared with sauteed collard greens. So very southern meal there. Your last option C, shrimp and grits with onion, peppers, heirloom cherry tomato, cream corn sauce, and red corn grit cakes. It doesn't get much more southern than those options there. I mean, in Vegas last year, I think we had filet mignon, chicken, and maybe some salmon. So this year, a little more southern options there. I am going to go with the heart attack option, the southern fried chicken, and then the butter pickle with chili honey. So whatever that is, it does sound delicious. Now, there are some rules to this party. So even though, you drop 5 racks to get into this party, there are some rules. It is at the Westin in downtown Atlanta. Check-in for the party begins at 5:30. Cocktail hour begins at 6, followed by, kind of the dinner reception from 7 to 10. And that's, at some point, Hank will come strolling in. Please do not bring any memorabilia, cards, balls, jerseys, pictures, etc. for hand Aaron. It says hand. She meant Hank Aaron to sign, or you will be provided with an autograph item. So pretty much same way as last year with Chris Bryant. They're going to give you a card that Hank will sign, and probably maybe a little picture and a little meet and greet kind of thing there. Number 4. This is a good one. Please do not live stream the event as it is going on. This was not a part of the rules last year. Again, I went to the party last year, and I was one of the guys live streaming the event. So number 4, please do not live stream the event as it is going on. So that is I think a really good rule. I think it allows me to not have to appease any of the fans out there, or any of the kind of onlookers, or the peanut gallery, whatever, railbirds, whatever you want to call them, as that I can instead just either make fun of myself, or maybe make fun of Tom Fish, or make fun of anybody that's there, or make fun of Topps or Panini or whoever I want to, and make fun of the pickle butter with chili honey, whatever I decide to do. But do not expect any live stream of me, again, because this is a business trip. I want to walk out with my 87 Aaron Judge rookie cards, and maybe something to Hank and some other shit too. So rule 5, lastly, most importantly, have a good time. Take lots of pictures, as this is truly once in a lifetime event. So do not live stream the event, but we can take pictures. So I'll do a couple pictures probably, and I think last year they had a professional photographer there. So you will want to be either tuned in or check in afterwards to Sports Card News on Twitter for that activity. And I might even be sending my brother stuff. He's Sports Card Radio. I'm sure we'll just be having a jolly good time that day. It's a day where you can really take your dick out and put it on the table and kind of wag it around a little bit. You spent this money. You're at the Topps party. Why not take a victory lap or two? So I fully intend to do that, and should be kind of fun. So again, check that out. Sports Card News on Twitter, Tuesday at 6 Eastern if you're around then, but you can check in after the fact. Again, I live in Vegas, so even if you're listening to this a few weeks later, I'm sure you can go back to the Twitter feed. Probably not a whole lot of things other than some of the Topps party stuff. So check that out as well. Just because Topps did, last year they kind of dubbed it as a 65th anniversary party. I guess you could call it the 66th anniversary here of Topps. Kind of taking a look at the company, real briefly here. In 2020, the MO, I believe, and I'd have to look this up and get a little more hard evidence here, but I believe the MLB license up in 2020. So you probably start thinking about that toward the end of this year, going into the beginning of 2019, about renewing that and what's going to happen there. I would be flat stunned if Topps did not at least, maybe have the exclusive, or, if Panini or somebody else jumps in there, it happens. But I'd be stunned if Topps doesn't have a part of the Major League Baseball license when that does come up for renewal. Again, the MLB can do whatever they want, and you can talk about, all these leagues care about is money and the highest bidder. I think that's bullshit when it comes to the MLB. Basketball cards, that license, is like, some of these hookers around Vegas. They've been passed around 18 different ways to Sunday. The football license too. I mean, even in basketball, there was a stretch there in the 80s where nobody was making that shit. So, baseball though, baseball cards is Topps. And I don't care how money hungry or greedy or grubby anybody at Major League Baseball is. They aren't that fucking stupid to be like, well, we're going to take this extra $2 million that Panini's throwing us, and we're going to kick Topps out. Topps losing an MLB license for anything short of, the MLB being greedy. Now, yeah, maybe, Topps goes bankrupt someday or sells itself or something weird like that happens. And certainly you could that would be on Topps as bad. But all things being equal, there's no fucking chance Topps isn't going to have an MLB license past 2020. So that's kind of I think a positive kind of tick in the Topps circle. Again, they have some other licenses, Star Wars, WWE. They do, Garbage Pail Kids. It's all kind of little stuff that they do that, again, they have a huge candy business that never gets discussed or nobody really knows a whole lot about. I've heard that sales can be upwards of $250 million a year. I saw a Ring Pop wrapper on the ground today in Vegas. Topps makes those or license that. So, there's money coming in there as well. So one thing peculiar, and that I still haven't ever got a really definitive answer to is, why do they keep these digital apps that are really floundering, that at one time had, a lot of explosive growth, and they were some of the highest rated sports apps and kind of some apps in general for a little while. Why do they keep these separate from the real cards? Upper Deck has E-Pack. Panini's, a complete joke. They really don't have anything. But why have they kept these apps separate? It's mind-boggling, and maybe that's something that I'll pontificate on during the Topps party. Another thing about Topps, they really should take cues from PSA, this really cool price guide that PSA came out with. Again, knowledge is power. Topps has 66 years of history. Can you go to the Topps website and find a 1952 Topps checklist? What about a 53? What about a 54? What about a 55? What about a 56? Can you see pictures of the cards? Can you see a price history of the Mickey Mantle card? Can you see anything about their history? Anything? Besides the next shit that's coming out or the next Topps Now shit or whatever. So information, knowledge, history of cards. Again, PSA is in the business of grading new cards. Once that card goes out the door, why should they really give a fuck? Why should they give a fuck what the cards sell for? Why should they give a fuck and make a price guide for cards that they've already graded? The money's already in the bank account. Why are they wasting all this money? And trust me, they get some flack in the investor community about blowing money on these price guides. I mean, trust me, that wasn't free what they just set up. Why do they do that? Because they think it's going to spur more business. Because they think people are going to go see that an Aaron Judge card a year ago today sold for $28 and 10 months later it sells for $1,000. You don't think that's good knowledge? So Topps and all the companies, frankly, but we're talking about Topps because they have a $5,000 fucking party coming up in a couple days. They could take cues from this. You have a 66-year history. You have, how many people work there? One post a day about your history. Start at 1951. Start with the red and black backs or whatever they're called. Start there. Go to 52. Do that the next day. Maybe they take a couple days. Put up a checklist. Put up some pictures. Put some price history. Put some unique things. You're Topps. You made the fucking cards. Maybe there's something we don't know about it or buried in the archives about this stuff. Do that on up through every single set that you release. Don't rely on these fucking stupid idiots to do it for you. Like Beckett and the guy at Cardboard Connection who got 6 felonies on his head. In the end, these sites won't be there for you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't present the information the way you can and have the reach that you can. Not saying there's not a use for information websites. My information website got me into the sports licensing and tailgate show. But Topps, you have nothing about your 66-year history of cards on your fucking site, and it's a fucking disgrace. So I would advise them that, and maybe take some of this money from, these Transcendent party or whatever. There should be money coming in. It feels like there's money coming in. It feels like when you talk to people at Topps, things are going well. And if PSA has the time and the resources and finds the importance to put out a price guide of their cards, I think Topps, and I'm not saying they need to put out a price guide, but more information about not only the sets coming out, but the vast history of sets that have come out. That information is out there. You own that information. You are the manufacturer. You can go take that from whomever you want to. Put that information out there. Put that information on your website. Again, go to the PSA card website. It doesn't have to look slick and amazing and have these graphics and all shadowing and all this fucking CSS bullshit. Just put up something very simple like they did. It looks great. It's useful. And again, knowledge spurs collecting. Knowledge kind of spurs purchases. Time and time and again. It's proven. These are proven fucking things. So we'll see. Not going to hold my breath there, but that's it. So really looking forward to this Topps party. Not sure when I'll be back because the day I come back, I have some friends coming in. So not going to be able to do like some big wrap up podcast. I may try to cut some things out on my phone if need be. I think when my brother's here, I'm going to try to do some Mercedes-Benz conversations with him. Kind of a bonus pod maybe with him. So keep an eye out with that. I think Doug and Dan from Mojo Breaker are going to be Atlanta. I might try to just hit them with a couple questions real quick, maybe about breaking or the party. So maybe there'll be something this week for me. If not, it'll probably be into the next week, probably before or after the sports licensing and tailgate show. But sports card news on Twitter, check me out. I'll be at the Topps party on Tuesday at 6 p.m. and I'll see you there.